What's going on, YouTube? I have some questions. Not a financial advisor. Don't have a crystal ball. Definitely don't support conflict, violence. But let's take a look at some things with the BRICS nations. If you haven't watched my first video about the BRICS nations some months back, please do that. I will link that video into the description of this video. For those of you who don't know what the BRICS is, that video goes over it, and it's growing. And I want to ask some questions about the petrodollar. So, if you've been paying any attention lately, you would have known that Saudi Arabia and Iran they're not friends. They don't have the best relationship. Saudi also doesn't really like our current leadership. So there's been talks about dumping the petrodollar, or partially dumping the petrodollar, and selling oil in something like gold, for gold, or the Chinese yuan, or other, other possible currencies, or a mixture of many. And part of the BRICS, part of the agreement that we have with Saudi Arabia is that they sell oil only for U.S. dollar. Well, we provide them military protection during times of conflict, as as per the agreement. So it's long been a concern of Saudi Arabia that Iran may start a conflict, and they seem to have started their, repairing their relationship slightly, and that definitely adds to the possibility of them dumping the petrodollar, or the USD agreement, and moving into the BRICS nations. And if you remember, some months back, our leadership went to the Saudis, and supposedly it was to ask them to, produce more oil because of the fuel issue. And a lot of people, myself included, kind of wonder if maybe it was more of, hey, please don't dump the U.S. dollar as the petrodollar. Please don't, join the BRICS nations. Meeting behind closed doors kind of thing. You have to ask yourself questions. You have to pay attention. You have to read between the lines, I think. And now, all of a sudden, we're having a conflict issue with Iran. And it makes me wonder. It makes me wonder if part of that motivation isn't just to keep Saudi Arabia on the defensive and not wanting to lose us as an ally and a protector, so that we can hold our petrodollar status longer. I'm not saying that's the case. I'm not saying it's not the case. I'm saying we only know what they allow us to know, and it's very curious timing to me. You got to think about what would happen if all these BRICS nations stopped trading in the USD and we lost the petrodollar status at the same time. Think of how many US dollars between those two events would come back home to the U.S. Don't quote me on this, but I've read figures many times in different through different sources, and I haven't looked lately, so this is just an estimate. But I think at one point they said 70 or 75% of all U.S. dollars ever created are overseas in countries that use it to trade with. Think about it, if all those came back. If the world, not the world, but if a good portion of the world got off of trading in the dollar altogether, or partially, and the petrodollar was no longer the USD, think of all those digits, all those dollars that would come back home. How much would a cup of coffee become? How much would a loaf of bread become? I don't know. Just questions I have. Again, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying this is what's going on. I'm just saying I have questions. I hope you're paying attention. I hope you have questions too. It makes me very, very happy that I have something outside of just the dollar to hold on to. Something physical and tangible like gold, silver. It's very important, in my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. You have to do your own research. I'm also not a fortune teller, as I've said, but You know, and I'm definitely not a FOMO guy. I'm not, saying, oh, you gotta, you gotta worry, the end is near. I'm not saying that at all, but things are very strange. It's a very troubled time in the world right now with everything going on, and I think it's important to hold on to some of the good stuff, just in case. You know, maybe add some when you can. I just put this eagle in the stack today. Picked it up. Only had one, and I only had so much cash, and I said, you know what? I'll take it home. You know, and little by little, I think that's a good move. Like, subscribe, comment. Tell me what you think is going on. Tell me if you think that there's anything fishy going on with what they're telling us and not telling us, or or you think it's business as usual. Let me know. Do me a favor. Interact, like, and keep stacking.